Joining us now, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, co-chair of the Democratic Convention. Governor, what is the central message that the Biden campaign wants to get across this week? And how much harder is it going to be to get that message across when instead of the hoopla of a convention, we're going to see a lot of people delivering speeches from their living room?
Chris, good to be with you. The theme, Uniting America, I think says it all. We are the Big Tent party. This is a moment in American history where we've got to put the us versus them in the rearview mirror and come together in common purpose. New Jersey, by the way, is in many respects the most diverse state in America, so that's a particular badge of honor. And as you put it, it is an unconventional convention to say the least, but I think the lineup is overwhelmingly compelling. The theme is overwhelmingly compelling. I think it's going to be a terrific week.
Let's talk about the big new issue that has just arisen, and you're on the front lines of it, as we pointed out in the production open. On Friday, just 11 weeks before the election, you directed that New Jersey will send ballots to all 6 million plus voters who are on your rolls there so they can do mail-in balloting for president. Does it make sense? You've never done this before. Does it make sense to change the system this close to the election?
Yeah, so Chris, we've actually had a pretty deep history with vote by mail, and we just had a primary, which was a little bit different only because it was a primary, but we learned a lot from it, and we liked what we saw. Ensuring voter security is completely understandable. I've spoken to the president about it, and by the way, I send our prayers in his direction over the loss of his brother, but we've got enough experience to believe between the option to vote by mail, to drop your ballot in secure boxes that we'll have all around the state, to show up actually on election day and hand your ballot over, or failing all that to actually vote in person. It's a hybrid model, actually. We think, based on our experience, especially from this primary, the system is going to work for us.
Well, you say you have a history of it, but let's review that history, because you had some problems in your primary last month. Some people got the wrong ballots. Some people didn't get ballots at all. You had a different election in Paterson, New Jersey in May, and 4 people were charged with voter fraud for harvesting ballots. I mean, that doesn't sound like a very good record, sir.
So, Chris, the Paterson experience was a local election in May before the primary. I actually view that differently. I view that as a positive data point. Some guys try to screw around with the system. They got caught by law enforcement. They've been indicted. They'll pay a price. So I actually have some optimism from that actually people tried to screw with the system and they failed. The primary in July, yes, I'm not suggesting you always bat 1,000. You don't do that in-person elections either. There are always some glitches you're dealing with, but it was overwhelmingly successful. And again, our hope is to expand democracy, and we believe this is the right way to do it.
But to answer some of the questions the president raises, what's the danger? People move, you send a ballot to me at my house, but I've moved and now somebody else has got my ballot and may want to fill it out. What are the safeguards you have that when you send a ballot out to somebody that they are going to be the one that sends the ballot back and it's their vote?
Again, folks, including the president, who have concerns about voter security, we all want to make sure that every vote counts, that every person gets to vote once. We've got checks and balances for all of that, Chris. Again, this is an iterative reality. We're learning from prior experiences. We actually had a high degree of success on that very point you're raising in terms of tracking people down in the July primary we just had. And again, remember, we're giving people the option to deliver their ballot in a secure box or in person. If they've got concerns about the Postal Service, there are a number of outlets we're giving folks to get their vote counted.
Yeah, I want to pick up on the Postal Service because they sent a letter out to 46 states, including New Jersey recently, in which they said that with this huge surge in mail-in balloting, there were 33 million votes, absentee and mail-in 2016. We could be talking double, triple that with this huge surge, that they can't guarantee that they're going to be able to get all the ballots out and return them in time to be counted. What do you think of that? And what do you think of the president's opposition to the Democratic proposal for $25 billion more for the Postal Service?
Yeah, I support unequivocally more money for the Postal Service, Chris. By the way, we extended in the primary, we'll do it again, the number of days after the election day where your mail-in ballot can be counted for the very reason that you've raised in terms of the volume. This is the last thing we should be doing is politicizing the Postal Service. It's not as though it exists just for vote by mail. Think about the seniors who rely on it for medicines, our veterans, our small businesses, the commerce associated with the backbone of this country. We need to fund the Postal Service. We need to root for its success as opposed to the opposite.
Do you think that the president and his postmaster general, who's a big Trump fundraiser contributor, do you think they are playing politics with the Postal Service?
I can't say. I've not dealt with the Postmaster General. I have dealt regularly with the Chief Operating Officer of the Post Office, and will continue to, by the way. We were very tough and strong on them during the primary, and I can assure you that we'll be doing the same during the general to make sure their performance is what it needs to be, and also that, again, back to Congress, we need to fund them properly, and I strongly support that.
Let's turn to the other big news this week, Joe Biden's new running mate, Kamala Harris, and her voting record in the Senate. Harris was the first senator to co-sponsor Medicare for All before walking that back and including private insurance. She supports the Green New Deal. She wants to ban fracking. And last year, an independent group ranked her as the most liberal member of the U.S. Senate. Question, sir, is Kamala Harris too far to the left for swing voters?
Now, Chris, listen, I think she is a fantastic choice, both in her personal history, from an immigrant family, a woman of color, her professional experience as Attorney General, as a prosecutor, as a U.S. Senator, how she complements Vice President Biden. I think when you look at that ticket and you look at this party in this moment in time in our country, I don't think we could ask for a better running mate for Vice President Biden.
What do you think of the president's continuing refusal to dismiss the claim that she is not eligible to run and serve as vice president?
Well, it's not true, and I hope and pray that the president moves off of that and gets to the substantive stuff. You put up a bunch of things that I suspect that the president is not going to agree with. Let's hope for a debate based on substance, a campaign based on substance, on the issues. This is one of the most extraordinary moments in our nation's history. We owe it to our citizens. We owe it to members of both parties to focus on the facts, on the vision, on where we're going to go as a country, and I hope we get to that sooner than later.
Let's talk about the campaign. Let's talk about Joe Biden. As I mentioned, President Trump is going to be campaigning around the country in key swing states this week, while Joe Biden remains in Delaware, where he has been, either Delaware or a few miles away in Pennsylvania throughout this campaign since the public health crisis started. I understand we're in the middle of a pandemic, but would you like to see Joe Biden get out more, to campaign more, to travel to more states? And would you like to see him participate in more interviews like you're doing right now?
Listen, I can't speak for the vice president, but I think he's done this exactly as one would hope. We are in the midst of a pandemic. New Jersey's paid an extraordinary price. We've had over 14,000 lost lives. It's a lot better than it was a few months ago, but boy, we're not out of the woods yet. So balancing public health with the sacred right of voting, as we've discussed, with democracy, I'm sure the vice president will be, between now and Election Day, up to his eyeballs in interviews and debates. I'm sure he'll get out there, but we've got to get that balanced, and we've got to get that balance right. That's a message, I think, that's being sent to America by the vice president, that this is a moment in time unlike any other. And balancing public health with democracy is something that we have to get right, and I believe he's gotten it right so far, and I'm sure he'll continue to.
Well, let me ask you about that. Let's talk finally about the coronavirus. Vice President Biden made this proposal this week. Take a look.
Every governor should mandate mandatory mask wearing. The estimates by the experts are it will save over 40,000 lives in the next 3 months.
Now, you have mandated that in your state, people must wear masks if they're outside and can't socially distance at least 6 feet apart. Do you think governors, all governors across the country, should issue that kind of mandate?
I do, Chris. I think the science and the data, the facts are unequivocal. It used to be up until, in fact, a few weeks ago, that the science said by doing so, you're protecting others. The science now says it works both ways. And I think if we had a national, as we've called for now for many weeks, if not months, a national masking policy, I think we could accelerate dramatically driving this virus into the ground. It's been a big weapon for us in New Jersey, but as a nation, we're only as strong as our weakest link. To have a national strategy, I think, would be a game changer.
Governor Murphy, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be following all the events at the convention this week, but I got to say, I'll miss seeing you in Milwaukee.
Amen, Chris. Same here. Take care.